Discovering Sculpture with Rob the Art Teacher. Part 1. Collage Sculpture. What do Wunderkammer, women's 19th century scrapbooks, Dada and Surrealism, Mycorrhizal networks and an old pair of shoes have to do with each other? Let's find out before you create your own collage sculpture. Hello, I'm Rob the Art Teacher. I have degrees in art and art history, and I've taught art for more than 4 decades. In these short videos, I will share art tips, art projects, and lesson ideas that you can try at home or in your classroom. What is collage sculpture? Let's look at artworks by New Zealand artist Peter Madden to get an idea. He's the one with the old shoes that have tiny butterflies emerging from their worn insides. And here are more butterflies, sprouting like spring blossoms from a bunch of twigs growing out of an upturned bowler hat. And a flock of brown striped butterflies looking a bit like forest tree fungi, clustering between the pages of an old book. Are they flocking in or growing out? These fairy tale moments are mesmerizing. What is the backstory to such art? Where do such wonderful, imaginative ideas come from? I see a web of connections, a network of folk art, modern art, and botanical ancestors going back as far as the 16th century. Here are the 5 short chapters of my story about how we might understand the layers of Peter Madden's style. We'll look at Wunderkammer or Wonder Rooms, women's 19th century collage scrapbooks, the anti-establishment collages of Dada and Surrealism, mycorrhizal networks, the internet of the soil, and finally, full circle, back to those old shoes. Our story begins with the Wunderkammer, wonder rooms, that emerged in the 16th century. They were early private museums, packed full of real and imaginary objects, creatures, and art. These scientific oddities, fantastic finds, and inventions were all jammed together to attract curious and amazed visitors. They are an early example of the almost irrational mashup that became a feature of collage. Skip forward a couple of centuries to the early years of mass production, and we find hundreds of collaged scrapbooks like 2D wonder rooms, created mostly by women as a craft hobby. These are the origins of collage and its special power of juxtaposing found images in surprising, imaginative, and creative combinations. The Dada art movement emerged in the early 20th century as a reaction against the violence and materialism of war and nationalistic attitudes. Preferring collage over painting, Dada artists used their cut-and-paste images as a protest against the insanity of modern life. Then, Dadaism gave birth to Surrealism, and we see a further flowering of collage as Surrealists saw its potential to express the surprising and unlikely mashups that take place in dreams, unconscious thoughts, chance, and spontaneity. This legacy of the early Surrealists continues even today. Our 5th and final chapter takes us underground to the secret life of trees and fungi. Here we find that mycorrhizal networks of fungal fibers in the soil enable plants, trees, and mushrooms to communicate with each other and to share water, carbon, nitrogen, and other nutrients and minerals. Mycorrhizal networks are nature's parallel to Peter Madden's collages, where discarded and old things become the soil for new and surprising growth and creativity. Now that we have an idea of some of the cultural layers underneath Peter Madden's style, let's look at the three elements that make up his collage sculpture technique. 1. Something old, or something that symbolizes age, death, or decay. 2. Collage details symbolizing life, birth, blossoming, flowering, emergence, flight, growth, and newness. 3. A structure or support system that joins the old and the new to create a feeling of the new emerging from the old. It can be a subtle support, like in the shoes on the left, or a dramatic visual element like the twigs here on the shoes on the right. Let's create our own collage sculpture in the style of Peter Madden. Step 1. Find something old, or something that symbolizes the past. It doesn't have to be old shoes like Peter Madden's work. Remember, this is your own work. Use your own imagination about something that symbolizes oldness or decay. Step 2. Find images that you can cut and paste as symbols of newness, growth, birth, emergence, flowering, surprise, or vitality. Step 3. What is the overall form or structure or shape you want to create when you combine your old element with your new symbols? How do you want to connect them? Think through the technical issues and balance these with the look you want to create. Some materials that might help you are bamboo skewers, dead twigs from a forest or garden, thick card for cutting supports, a hot glue gun, acrylic or poster paint. Finally, don't forget to photograph your project and share it with a friend. At the end of any project, I think it's a good idea to pause and reflect and review. I always ask my students, show me your finished project and tell me about it. And what did you learn during the project that was particularly valuable to you? If you tried the project, perhaps you can share it with a friend and say what you learned. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to click like and share it. If you want to see more short videos with art tips, art projects and lesson ideas, please subscribe to my channel, Rob the Art Teacher.